Hello. I am going to ask you a question. And the question is this: do you think Disney Studios is being run by professionals? And I'm going to tell you my answer is probably not. And I'm going to point something out that makes me I'm going to point out my reasons for saying that. And it's all to do with the Gina Carano business. Now, to my astonishment, my husband didn't know about Gina Carano nor about The Mandalorian, which is amazing. He's a big science fiction buff as well, and he's a man. And I'm quite sure that he finds watching a healthy, strapping young woman striding about, with a gun over her shoulder and wearing lots of, I don't know what, studded leather. I've never seen it. I'm assuming I'm assuming she's like the Xena warrior princess type person. And, that's fine. Anyway, he didn't even know about it, but I suppose now he's going to start leafing through back issues of wherever it turns up, Netflix or whatever, to look for some episodes. But she had a big following among young women as well, and girls, and that's great. It's really nice. And you'd think that these guys would think, well, this is great, she positive female role model. Well, it turns out, you see, that this positive female role model is also an independent thinker, and they don't like that really too much, do they? And the reason I am asking if they are professionals is this: apparently, when Miss Carano was sacked, she didn't find out about it. The way she finally did find out about it was to do with, I think she saw it on Twitter, something like that. That is, she didn't get a formal letter of sacking. That is, there appears to have been no procedure. And just for those of you who don't know about Gina Carano and may have been living with your head in a paper bag for the past 6 months, she was the star of this show, The Mandalorian, a bounty hunter, very popular, and also she was scheduled to turn up in another series, another spin-off called Ahsoka. So, riding high, you might think. But you see, it started with her being asked to put her preferred pronouns on her Twitter handle or her Instagram account, and she said, "Okay, Gina Carano, be bop boop," because she's got a sense of humour, and this caused a storm of people calling her transphobic. Now, I have said before that people there is a small section of trans people, not the whole lot of them, but just this section, which, in my opinion, is a group of men who just hate women. They dress in women's clothes and usually they look terrible and they usually look exaggerated and they look ugly. And it seems to me that they don't wish to be women. They wish to drag women down by doing this. I definitely think they are very this little group there is psychologically disturbed. Unfortunately, it's giving other people who have more serious trans issues to deal with. It's not helping them at all. But anyway, so there's this little group, and they most likely are the ones who were accusing her of making fun of them. Because, as you will have seen from that video in which I showed you this obvious man trashing a shop and shouting at people, I'm madam, you can see I'm a woman, or something like that. Just mad as a box of frogs. And violent and knowing that they don't really look like women, getting very heated when somebody points this out to them. But they couldn't get at her for that, because Bee Bop Boop is definitely a joke, and even though they might not have liked it, it's sort of a bit obvious. And then she put out this on Instagram. Now, what she was saying was that Jews were humiliated and depersoned by the crowd, and then it was much easier to ship them off to concentration camps afterwards. She's not talking here about Jews in the Holocaust. She's talking about Jews some years before the Holocaust. And she's absolutely right. It may start with a small amount, like Jews weren't allowed to drive cars or go to state schools or anything like that. But then it just got, it sort of snowballed. And she's saying that it's starting with a small thing for Republicans now, but it could snowball. It's a reasonable thing to say. I know Ben Shapiro said that it was over the top. But no, once you start this thing where you identify a group and then constantly blame them, not only for everything that's going wrong, but you say they are determined to destroy you, then sooner or later it can end up in some pretty horrible example. Just look what happened to the Japanese, for instance, in at the beginning of the Second World War. It's a similar sort of thing. They were an identifiable group where Japan had declared war, and suddenly these people were horribly punished for people who had very little to do with them, but some sort of ancestry, a slight colour to the skin, something like that. It's absolutely... It's something we all have to watch out for, because it's easy enough to slide into. And this is what she was talking about. You can see this, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbours, even by children. And she's talking about pre-Holocaust. However, you get people who, where was this? The Verge. Here's The Verge. Star Wars severs ties with the Mandalorian star Gina Carano. And then it says here, which is misreporting. I mean, it's completely wrong. It says, Carano has recently come under scrutiny for several posts published on social media, including an anti-Semitic post on her Instagram. I mean, does this person even know what... I don't know who wrote this. Let's see. Jay Peters. Oh, is Jay Peters? I'm assuming Jay is a man. I'm assuming that. I don't know. Anyway, this Jay Peters person, this isn't an anti-Semitic post. This here. This is not an anti-Semitic post. It's a warning from history. And then apparently a Lucasfilm spokesperson denounced Carano. Her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent. She wasn't denigrating anything. What she was denigrating, actually, she was denigrating woke so-called progressives. That's what she was denigrating, and they can't take that at all. And then there are these guys here. You see, you can't tell who they are. Because they, here we are, she, they, BLM, I mean, these people. She's transphobic, anti-mask, alt-right, parrots QAnon conspiracies, doesn't believe in systematic racism. I think this person might mean systemic racism, and now shares anti-Semitic images. And then this other one, why is Gina Carano not trendy? She's literally posted Nazi propaganda. These people don't know what Nazi propaganda is, obviously. They are semi-literate, and they are being given the power to get her thrown out of her job. Now, the reason So I go back to my first question. Are the people who run Lucasfilm and Disney, are they even professional anymore? Because a professional would look at that and say, that's not Nazi propaganda, that's not anti-Semitic. They'd know that. And then they would discuss maybe the situation with her. They wouldn't allow themselves to be stampeded by these sorts of tweets here from semi-literates who, I mean, they're semi-literate because they're obviously not even intelligent enough to read anything properly. And they are being given that sort of power by the sort of people who are running Lucasfilm and Disney. And then they don't even sack her properly with proper procedure. This is not the work of a professional. Now, why are non-professionals running these companies? Because they are all part of this woke progressive, many of whom got their jobs because they said the right things, not because they were good at their jobs. And this is why companies like this are going to go downhill pretty quickly. They are going to go broke. When you start employing people because they say the right things rather than because they have the right skills, like administration and procedural sophistication, then it's the same. That's what happened with the Soviet Union. It just ran itself into the ground because it was the people who could parrot Lenin and didn't know anything about how to make widgets or whatever they were put in charge of. All right, well, that's it. That's the Gina Carano thing. And it's being run by a bunch of amateurs. It's very sad, really. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Grambo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.